Hey there, welcome back. So Saturday morning, like I do every morning, I was doing my meditations and I pull oracle cards and some tarot cards, just some daily inspiration, some daily guidance, just that connecting time with spirit. And the very first card I pulled Saturday morning was this surrender card. And then the very second card I pulled was this surrender card. I sent a picture of this to a couple of my friends and I said, I wish the message could just be a little bit more clear. It had kind of started for me on Thursday. I was having a lot of racing thoughts. Like many of you, I'm sure you experience this from time to time. And often on our spiritual journey, there are days or even what can seem like weeks or seasons of having this restless mind where these thoughts just won't let you be. And when I got these surrender cards, I was like, no kidding. If I could let go of this, I would. Please help me let go of this. Let me let go of all the thoughts I'm having about this situation that's troubling me. And then I realized, that surrender and letting go aren't the same thing. Letting go is detaching, coming apart from something. Surrendering is the acceptance of where you are in this moment. The next card that came out for me was this sanctuary card. And oddly enough, today's Sunday, this came out again. The surrender cards didn't. And I feel like the surrender cards didn't come out again because I finally reached the point yesterday where I could surrender. My mind was screaming all these things at me, like, just let this go. It wanted to cast like all this judgment on me. It was like, why aren't you over this situation? Why can't you just stop thinking about it? And I realized these thoughts and this mind is kind of something similar to like a storm that were to come through. Maybe in the wintertime you get a big snowstorm, or other times of the year you get a big thunderstorm or a windstorm, depending on where you live. But the point is there's often these times in our lives where a storm comes through and we simply just have to accept this is what's happening right now. That, there might be things you want to go do outside. Maybe you've got chores to do or games to play or whatever, that you just want to be out there and you don't want to be inside. But there does come that point where you accept there's a storm. This is where I am. What can I do in this moment during this storm to create the sanctuary? You know, when those two cards came out, I really got upset. And vulnerably speaking, I started to cry because I could just feel so much energy. And it was in that moment, in that surrender moment, that I had to let those emotions kind of flow. First, I was angry. Then I kind of had to vent some things just kind of outside, just talking to myself, let them all out to where I could get to the pain point underneath all of the anger, all the suffering and the thoughts. And I had myself a really good cry. And I said, all right, this is where I'm at. How can I just allow myself to be in this place? How can I create this sanctuary for myself today? These racing thoughts were so much. I was just like, I'm not doing anything today. I stopped having expectations on how I was going to spend the day because these thoughts were coming in no matter what I was doing. And I was having a conversation with a friend earlier in the week, and we were talking about playing games on your phone. This is something that I have done on and off throughout my life, even back in childhood, right? And I just didn't know what else to do. And I thought, I'm just going to grab my iPad and I'm going to play a few games and just kind of be, because I had released the expectation of all the shoulds that should be happening during the day, all the things I want to do, all the things I want to create, all the things I want to accomplish. Because that's the other thing when we get in kind of these shit storms of the mind is you really can start piling on, or at least I can, piling on even greater expectations so you can be even more and more upset and feel even more awful in that suffering. But when I finally came to that point where I just was like, that's it. It's a storm. I'm just going to hunker down and allow it. And it was then when I had that moment of surrender and acceptance, and I kind of picked up my iPad and I started playing these puzzle games. And I played them for quite a long time. This is how I'm going to spend this moment. Because for whatever reason, those puzzles were kind of slowing this down. And it was in that moment of kind of my mind kind of slowing down, I could feel myself calm down. And then as I became calmer within myself and acceptance, I started having some memories pop up, some visions pop up that started giving me a little bit of clarity around what I was feeling. My mind, our minds want to attach sometimes these pain points or these struggles and sufferings to a person, a place, a thing, a job, an experience. That's just the mind and the ego's way of reaching kind of outside itself to point blame, because sometimes in that pointing of blame or naming it, it kind of gives that temporary relief, and then you can go back into that anger. But it's in these moments that where you can kind of ground down and come back down into your body and into your heart, or just slow this cycle down just a little bit, that you can find the things that are truly being asked to look at. So it was while I was playing this game that I had this memory of something I'd heard earlier in the week. And this man was talking about letting go. And he was talking about how letting go isn't something that you do. Letting go is something that happens. And that if we look at letting go as something that just happens, he was likening it to a tree and fruit. The tree doesn't decide to just let go of the fruit. The fruit falls from the tree when it's ripe and when it's ready, when it's done growing, when it becomes heavy and is luscious and ready for consumption. It naturally just lets go. And it was in that moment, remembering hearing that I realized this situation that I'm thinking about, that my mind is demanding I let go, and has found, trying to find a million different ways to cut it or do, energy work or whatever I can to let go. I realize that I'm not going to be able to control that with my mind, because my mind is wanting to control the outcome of this to, let the pain stop. And when I got to this place of acceptance of like, if this situation isn't, if it isn't letting go right now, it's not ready. I'm not ready. The fruit's not ripe. And in that moment, I kind of saw the sanctuary card again. And I thought, if I had a tree that was producing fruit, what would I do if I wanted that fruit? Well, I could run up there and I could yank it off the limb, and it wouldn't be ready. It wouldn't be ripe. It would probably be bitter, taste funny. And then I would have to wait again for that tree to produce another piece. Or maybe wait to the whole other time it produces in another season. So that mind wanting to rush in and pull that fruit that's not ready yet is a way of just kind of rushing the process. When in reality is if I really want to enjoy that fruit, if I truly want to experiencing the letting go, the ripening, and the harvest, what can I do in this moment? I can nurture the tree. I would make sure that it would have water. I would make sure that if it was it have getting adequate sunlight. I would make sure to nurture and hold, bless that tree, love that tree as time passes and the fruit ripens. So when I could have this clarity around the fruit and the tree, then I really could surrender and shift into, I need to nurture me. I need to accept that I'm not ready to maybe let go of something or what the mind says let go, but I can surrender to the process. I can surrender to what is. I can love myself in this moment. I can accept love and connection and support from my friends and my family, myself. I can allow myself to open up and create this sanctuary in the storm. It was in that moment, after having this flood of clarity, when I was able to at least slow this down a little bit, that a friend texted me and invited me somewhere. A weekend that I thought was lost, that I would have no plans, that I was just going to be suffering in my own mind. A beautiful invitation then was energetically able to come through. And it was the most beautiful thing. I don't know that I've ever received an invitation like this before. She said, I would love for you to come do this. It brings me so much joy. And I'd love for you to experience me and my joy and see why I love this so much. And I thought, what a beautiful invitation. You bet. I would love to go see someone I love and care about in their place of joy. This oddly was an event that I would never go to probably on my own. My mind would say, that's really not your thing. But I had surrendered, said, ask for the help. Please show me, Spirit. Help me create a sanctuary within myself today. That I went. And I was able to witness my friend and her joy. And I joined in. And I had the most lovely day. That turned into going out for dinner afterwards. When I got home, I was in such gratitude for the surrender. And the thoughts were still trying to come in as I went to sleep last night. But as I went to fall asleep last night, I could say to myself, that's okay. It's just a storm. And the part of me that needs to experience this storm to be reflective and to feel the hurt and the pain, to be able to allow the emotions to be vulnerable, is the medicine. You know, as many of you know, recently I just kind of recovered from being sick. And the funny thing about being sick is you really become present because all you really care about in that moment is feeling better. There was a moment where I was like, yep, I'm sick. And I stopped fighting it. And I said, this is where I'm at. Many of us are taught that power is about trudging through. Many of us grew up in that place where you don't show your emotions, be strong. My grandma used to say, stiff upper lip kid, where she'd just say, you just got to do it. And we associate that with strength and power. However, your true power lies in the surrender. Many of you, myself included, in certain parts of our life, we've kind of had to gut things out. How many times have you proven that you can do that? That you can do the undesirable thing, that you can go through the uncomfortable circumstance, that you can just make it through something. Well, it's only a little while. I can do it for a little while. If you sat long enough, you could probably make a list a mile long of all the times that you just had to do it. You've proven that you can do that. The true power and strength that you have within you is in your vulnerability of surrender, of saying, I don't have to do that. It's okay for me to be where I am right now. I don't have to swallow my feelings. I can be powerful and strong in this moment by saying, I'm hurting. I don't feel good. I need to surrender. This is where your power lies, in the surrender. You're going to hear a lot of talk this weekend, especially with this big full moon we have in Scorpio, about your power. Don't confuse what your mind tells you what power is versus what your soul knows power is. Power's not doing. Power is being. It is being fully on and authentically you. It is you shining your light and being vulnerable. It's you allowing yourself the time and space when there's these energetic storms or real storms in our lives to say, this is where I am. I'm hurting. No, I don't feel okay. And allowing yourself the time and space to explore so that you can find your clarity. Because if you were ready to be out of the storm or to let go, your fruit would just drop from the tree. If your fruit's not dropping from the tree, there's something that you need to do, that you're being invited within the inside of you to nurture, water, shine on, to get clarity on, so that fruit can expand and mature. So your power, your strength is in that place of loving you, accepting you, and being you, authentically you. That's what this whole spiritual journey is all about, is coming back home and remembering who you are. I had a beautiful text exchange the other day with someone that I've been doing some sessions with. She was doing a big presentation in New York City, something that she'd had on her calendar for months. And she texted me and said she was feeling a little bit nervous. And instantly the inspiration flowed through. And I told her, go stand at a window, find the sun, stare up at it, and know that you're made of the same energy. Just be. Just be you. Be playful. Be bright and shine. So as you move through this week and you have those moments, that mind races, connect back to that light, connect to the sun, connect to spirit, connect to that inner child, connect to your heart, and just allow the being. Letting go. It's not what you think. It's in the surrender and how you feel. Don't forget, later this week, we have our Journey with Jen, our live Zoom healing session on May 15th at 7 p.m. If you are in the group, it's obviously included. If you're watching this video, just as a preview, you can register for in season. You'll see all the other videos. You'll get the other live Zoom event, and you'll be included in this Thursday as well. Have yourself a beautiful week. Bye-bye.